Fellow patriots, what I'm about to tell you in the next 3 minutes could get me in a lot of trouble because I'm going to expose the electricity monopolies and government agencies for what they really are: incompetent, lying crooks who are counting on your ignorance and fear to keep your electric bills and heating bills criminally high. And I'm going to show you the secret of how I beat them and how you can beat them too. Hi there, my name is Frank Bates. I live in a small town outside of Nashville, Tennessee with my wife, Michelle, and our two kids, Jack and Samantha. And if you're anything like me, you're flat out sick and tired of watching helplessly as your power bills skyrocket, even though you're doing everything you can to conserve. It's maddening. And this is happening while the big corporations are laughing all the way to the bank. I bet you're completely fed up with being dependent on those fat cat power monopolies that raise their rates again and again, up to over $1,419 per year, according to this recent article on theblaze.com. Look at that headline. This is happening even though we're in the middle of a recession and people everywhere are hurting. No doubt you're terrified about how you'll keep your family safe and warm when a power crisis happens. And you know it will happen. Here's the dirty little secret that President Obama and the big energy monopolies have been trying to bury. The shocking truth is that having power rates skyrocket is actually all part of their plan. Some would call it a conspiracy. Others have called it a massive cover-up. And even more alarming, this conspiracy runs all the way to the top. You are being played like a puppet. Now, I know you may be a bit skeptical, but it's true, and I'll prove it to you. Keep watching this short video. You're going to be shocked.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. Even, regardless of what I say about whether coal is good or bad, because I'm capping greenhouse gases, coal power plants, natural gas, you name it, whatever the plants were, whatever the industry was, they would have to retrofit their operations. That will cost money. They will pass that money on to consumers.
Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to take this BS lying down. I'm going to tell you the story of how I found the secret to slashing my electric and heating bills while my home stays warm, cozy, and comfortable. And best of all, my family is 100% protected from power outages, blackouts, storms, and domestic emergencies. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, stay with me for the next few minutes and I'll do more than just tell you my story. I'll give you the secret to how you can get the exact same peace of mind and cut your power and heating bills by up to 75%. And don't worry, this is 100% legal and will work for you even if you don't have a lot of money to spend or think you're not handy. Before we get started, I need to warn you. I don't know how long I'll be able to leave this video up because this video contains a lot of information that the big power companies and their lapdogs, the government regulators, don't want you to know. In fact, I've been told that this video has recently been banned by Google. So please stop whatever else you're doing and focus on this short presentation. You'll be glad you did. My story is probably going to sound very familiar to you. I used to live up in the Northeast, where power is notoriously expensive and unreliable. I used to flinch every time the electric bill came or the heating oil truck pulled up to my house. It was like watching the cash being sucked right out of my pocket right in front of my eyes. Our rates just kept climbing and climbing, and there was nothing we could do about it. We had no choice about which power company to use. And as for the oil companies, they could charge whatever the heck they wanted. I had no control. And if we weren't dealing with rolling blackouts during the hot summer peak days, it was down power lines after even the mildest storm. In the middle of the winter storm season, forget it. I can still remember the sick feeling in my stomach when I would listen to the weather forecast and see a storm headed our way. I knew the power was pretty much guaranteed to go out. The only questions were, how long would it be out this time? How much of our carefully prepared and expensive frozen food would have to get thrown out? How long would my family be without heat? where our pipes freeze and burst. And did I mention we had a well with an electric pump? So no power meant no water. Quite frankly, I just wanted to pull my hair out. When my little girl begged me to turn the lights on, Daddy, or make the house warmer, it made me sick to tell her there was nothing I could do to fix it. Talk about feeling helpless. This happened so often that I started to get really worried. If they couldn't keep the power on during a simple storm, what chance do we have if things really got bad? You and I both know this country's headed in a pretty scary direction. And frankly, thanks to the shaky state the liberals have put our country in, our government isn't ready to handle the situations that are coming our way. They're not ready to handle much of anything. Ask anyone who lived through Hurricane Katrina. The cold, hard truth is that our power grid is completely outdated, not to mention incredibly vulnerable to terrorist attacks and natural disasters, and no one in the government even seems to care. They keep telling us everything is fine, that we don't need to worry about it. I don't know about you, but when big government tells me not to worry, I know it's time to worry. And you can forget about the power monopolies of big oil companies. They're more interested in spending millions flying their private jets to Washington to lobby the government for more fat tax breaks than in figuring out how to solve our power crisis. Now, I'm a red-blooded American, and I'm not ashamed of it. You'd better believe I wasn't about to rely on corporate America or big government to help me out. With gas prices the way they are these days, a fancy generator just wasn't an option. I knew that wasn't the answer. The real hard truth was, I really didn't want to rely on the power company to keep my lights on and my family safe and warm. And I was sick and tired of paying more and more money for electricity. And when the power crisis finally happens, I knew I didn't want to have to go run into some government agency full of useless bureaucrats like FEMA. So I put some good old American ingenuity to work and started trying to figure out how to solve the problem. If I wanted to save money and make sure my family was safe and secure, I needed to generate my own power. That way it wouldn't matter if the power went out for everyone else. It wouldn't matter if I didn't have a generator and stockpile gasoline. It wouldn't matter if the cost of electricity doubled or tripled like many experts think is going to happen in the next few years. It wouldn't matter if the whole world was suffering from blackouts or brownouts, or if we ran out of oil or coal, or if something terrible happened to a nuclear reactor like it did in Japan. Here's what I realized did matter. If I could create my own power, my family would be safe, warm, and protected no matter what happened. My home would be a little island of light and warmth, even if it was dark everywhere else. I started doing hours of research on wind power, solar power, and heating. And I started to get more and more excited about the possibility that I could create my own power system using free, abundant, natural sources of energy. I knew I'd found the answer. There was just one problem. When I started contacting installation companies about solar and wind power systems, I felt like I'd been mugged. They were charging thousands just for a few solar panels. Way too much for a regular guy like me to afford. And when I questioned their high prices, they'd blow me off and say, we got a 3-month backlog. Tons of people want solar and wind power for their homes, so you'll pay what we say. Or they'd try to sell me some overpriced, underpowered equipment made with cheap parts from China. But as I started digging and did more research, I discovered what those big companies selling this stuff don't want you to know. All the components you need to build your own home power plant, including solar panels, batteries, and even wind turbines, are surprisingly affordable. Well, it made me furious to see how companies were repackaging these basic parts and marking them up like crazy to take advantage of unsuspecting patriots like you and me. I decided to do something about it. I made up my mind to find a way to beat the system. I knew there had to be a better way. And that's when I discovered the secret that changed everything for me. I met Brian Clark, an underground solar power expert who's built power systems all over the world that are completely off the grid. He showed me how to crack the solar code and build my own powerful, independent power system for a fraction of what those big companies were trying to charge. He even showed me where I could get all the information I needed to build my own wind power system so I would be covered no matter what happened. Not only does this guy know everything there is to know about generating power, he's also a stand-up guy who has personally built hundreds of solar panels and taught people all over the world how to build their own independent power systems. Well, you better believe I didn't waste any time sitting this guy down and picking his brain about everything he knew. And what he told me blew my mind. He told me that as recently as a few years ago, average folks like you and me didn't have access to solar cells or hard to find electronic components. But now, with the rise of online vendors and sites like eBay, anyone with a valid shipping address can buy whatever materials they need to build a solar panel that rivals any commercial panel in performance and durability for a fraction of the cost. Brian showed me where to get the materials I needed at the best prices and walked me through the whole process of building my own home power plant step by step. I couldn't believe that someone like me, who'd barely picked up a set of tools since high school shop class, was able to build my own home power system from start to finish. But the best news of all, from the very first month I had my system up and running, I started to see my electric bill go down for the first time ever, and it just kept getting better. Once I got my wind turbine set up, the numbers just kept going down. And when I really got going and added a solar hot water heater, well, I don't have to tell you, it made me feel great to be able to tell the oil company, no, we don't need our oil tank refill this month, maybe next month, or not. I really got a charge out of using simple ideas and a little ingenuity to outsmart the power company who thought they had me over a barrel, not to mention the big corporations who tried to rip me off for solar and wind power. Soon my friends and neighbors started asking me to show them how I did it. They wanted to know the secret to slashing their power bill while breaking free of the government's energy chokehold. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about me or the folks in my town. I knew there were thousands of Americans out there who were just as angry as I was about rising electricity and heating costs. I knew there were other patriots like me who could see the writing on the wall about where this country's going, who wanted to step up and take charge of their own lives. These are the folks who are confident and fearless in the face of a crisis, ready to take responsibility for their homes and families. This information was too important to keep to myself. So I sat Brian down. To be honest, I practically tied him to a chair and forced him to reveal all his hard-won underground knowledge about building and installing solar panels and wind power. We spent hours shooting video footage and months writing detailed manuals, not to mention testing everything to make sure anyone could use it. And after a lot of hard work, the Power4Patriots system was born. Power4Patriots is a simple, step-by-step system that slashes your power bill by up to 75%, freeing you forever from slavery to utility monopolies, so you can protect your home and family no matter what happens. We worked hard to design this from the ground up so it would be easy to use for as many people as possible. So long as you can use a few simple tools, you can build and install your own solar panels, wind power, and even solar heating on your property. Before I tell you exactly what's inside Power4Patriots, I want to let you know I've lined up some amazing free goodies just for folks watching this video. So keep watching.